everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Carrie Feierabend, and I am now the Deputy Superintendent at Golden Gate National Recreation Area. I think the last time I was here for a meeting, which was several months back, I was just acting, but now I'm the real thing, so I'm happy to be here, and I'm so happy to see all of you here this evening. Oh, go ahead, you can please come on. We'll do a few hugs, welcomes. I want to first thank the Tamalpais Valley Community Center for hosting us this evening and letting us use this facility. We're very appreciative, and it's a perfect spot for us to engage and talk about Muir Woods and Marin activities that have been going on for the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. I want to say that this meeting tonight really is marking a significant milestone in all of the planning activities that have been underway for Muir Woods for many years now. And this is the result of a lot of your input and pushing us to step up and do something with regards to some of the circulation and traffic plans issues that we've had out at Muir Woods. And we are very excited to say that the reservation system for parking out at Muir Woods is about to unfold in the new year. And I want to thank all of our civic leaders who are here. I know there's a representative from Congressman Huffman's office. Jenny, thank you so much for helping to orchestrate the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding that got pulled together to really help set the direction for this collaborative effort that we're advancing. And I'd also like to acknowledge Supervisors Rodoni and Sears as well for being here this evening. Thank you very much for your efforts. And I'd also like to acknowledge that we are live streaming this evening for the Marin Public Access TV, so welcome to all those extended family members, I could say. We appreciate your joining in this evening. And at this moment, I'd like to actually it's great pleasure for me to introduce on day 2 of her job in the saddle here at Golden Gate as the new superintendent for Golden Gate National Recreation Area, Laura Joss.
Thank you, Carrie. I just really appreciate all of you coming out tonight, taking time out of your busy schedules, and this is a very important issue for us. It's been a long time in the works for years, and I'm happy to be here to help learn more about it along with you, and appreciate your input. So thank you all.
Thank you, Laura. I'd also like to introduce a new member to the leadership team at Golden Gate National Recreation Area, and that's David Shifsky, who is our new chief ranger at the park. We're very happy to have him join us, having come from Point Reyes National Seashore, so at least he and Laura both already are quite familiar with Marin County and issues and challenges and the beauty and the joy here. At this moment in time, what I want to do is just highlight or run through the agenda for the evening. We're going to, I'm just going to give an overview of some of the activities that have been going on in Marin Parklands. Then we're going to have an update on the reservation system that's about to roll out and the Memorandum of Understanding, an update on the implementation of all of the goals and strategic moves outlined in that MOU, and then have a question and answer period, and then we'll have informal discussion afterwards and open house stations, which you perhaps have already taken a look at. So to kick things off, I want to just do a little bit of reflection now that the year is coming to an end for 2017, and we look forward to all of the activities coming up in 2018. But there's been a lot going on in the park and in Marin, and I just wanted to highlight a few of the things that have happened. Out at Stinson Beach, for those who may or may not have been out there, we've actually invested a fair amount of money into the infrastructure out there, redoing the wastewater treatment facility out there, and the water system, as well as making accessibility improvements for universal access for all of our visitors. And this includes a boardwalk access down to the beach, as well as new picnic grounds and water fountain areas. And it's really quite a spectacular setting now. It always has been, but now with these amenities, it's quite nice. And I have to say also that we had a very successful junior lifeguard program. I think there were 60 participants in the program. This is becoming a very thriving, active program in Marin County, and we're very excited about all of all of the young folks who are joining in on those programs. Then out at Muir Woods, let's see, we had, I love this one, the turtles, which is the upper right-hand corner. There was a very successful collaboration with Sonoma State University and the San Francisco Zoo that led to 8 western pond turtles, which is a federally endangered species, being released at Muir Beach this summer, which is very cool. We had another round of adult salmon that were born in Redwood Creek and successfully reared to adulthood in a nearby hatchery, and they will return to a natal stream this winter to spawn. So yay for the salmon. Slide Ranch, bottom left-hand corner, this is a new facility out at Slide Ranch, which is the Farm to Table Environmental Education Teaching Center, and they are one of our park partners, and this is really quite a remarkable facility that I had the great pleasure of being out there for the ribbon cutting and the opening, and it's really very inspiring, a total green facility. We also had this summer the Marin County Library Summer Stride Reading Program, which engaged MPS Rangers along with a lot of youth coming to the park as part of this library outreach program. And I also want to mention that we've had a lot of continued success and collaboration with the state park system and looking at all of the work in trails and vegetation management in the Redwood Creek watershed. Marin Headlands. You probably all, at one point or another, experienced the closure of the Bakerberry Tunnel, but now that it's open, it was totally an inconvenience when it was closed, but the wonderful thing was that it got retrofit, as did the lighting system in there, so it's much more energy efficient and is going to save us money, but also provide much better lighting for cyclists as well as for vehicles going through there. So we're very excited to have completed that project. The Headland Center for the Arts had a major campus investment made in their facilities for universal access on the exterior landscape, and also creating programmatic space that can be used for to support other visitors to their programs out there. And then the top left slide this is just recently completed, and this is the initial phase of trail work up at Hawk Hill in the Marin Headlands at the top of the Conselman. And we have other phases of work to be done, but this was our trails crew in action this summer, and really is quite a spectacular setting. So we're very excited about that completion. So as you can tell, we've been kind of busy in Marin County, and needless to say, there's also other work in the park, but we're very proud of this work going on. So tonight we're here to really focus in on the Muir Woods parking and transportation system and all of the efforts where we are in the plans and with the parking reservation system. But just as a reminder that the parking and shuttle reservation system is only one piece of a bigger picture here. There's several other key puzzle pieces that we will be implementing over the next several years. So at this point, we are going to focus in on the MOU. And I would like to ask Supervisor Sears to make a few remarks, if you would.
Great. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you for that overview of everything that else that's been going on for those of us who are focused on Muir Woods. So we have a lot to talk about tonight, and I really hope there'll be a lot of good questions from the audience. I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about the Muir Woods Shuttle. Which has been around for 12 years now and carries 120,000 passengers to and from Muir Woods. It's really been extraordinary, the growth in this shuttle. And, you know, one of the issues that we're hoping the reservation system has a good effect on is the incredible line of folks who wait to get on the Muir Woods Shuttle at Manzanita Pohono because of that glut of people who are trying to get to the park in the middle of the day. So we're really hoping that this reservation system will achieve what we've heard that it will, which is to smooth out visitation and really help out with Marin Transit being able to even out its passengers. Being able to buy tickets in advance hopefully will help as well, and we're also really expanding the service so that there's going to be service on the Muir Woods Shuttle to Muir Woods every weekend of the year. None of this starting with the summer season and having just a limited period of time that the Muir Woods Shuttle is running. It's going to be running every weekend, and I'm hoping that that will have an effect both on ridership on the shuttle, but also on the traffic that everybody experiences here going out to Muir Woods. We're also running the shuttle every day of the week during the summer period, and that summer period is mid-June to mid-August. So hopefully the midday or the weekday ridership will also help with traffic, because I know that all of us really, what is our major concern here? Environmental issues and the impact on traffic. So I look forward to talking more and hearing more from all of you about your concerns about the park and the reservation system, and what we hope we will see happening in the future. And thank you for being here. And I think Dennis Rodoni, my colleague on the board, would like to say a few things as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening. My name is Dennis Rodoni. I'm the Marin County Supervisor for the 4th District, which includes Muir Woods, but it also includes the northern portion of the GDNRA and Point Reyes National Seashore. So I'm a pretty lucky guy, I think. I want to welcome you all here and especially recognize Supervisor Sears, who has been here from the beginning and helping with the MOU and working on behalf of the county in that MOU. This has been an incredible collaborative effort of multiple agencies with many goals, including to protect and preserve and enhance the health of Redwood Creek, to reduce traffic congestion in Muir Woods and locally, to improve traffic and pedestrian safety and reduce environmental impacts on Muir Woods Road, increase local transit, commercial and public transit. I want to make a special call out and a thank you to the National Park Service, Department of Public Works, Congressman Huffman and his office, Jenny, the California Department of Recreation and Parks, our Sheriff's Department, Marin Transit, and other stakeholders, and in particular neighboring communities, for being great partners in this united effort. In 2015, we signed the MOU agreement to work with one another on a multi-year effort to come up with sustainable solutions to the parking problems, along with our roads to Muir Woods and protect and enhance Redwood Creek and the watershed. Tonight we have moved forward towards the parking reservation system, which will improve congestion on our roadways and relieve our parking system impacts. I'm pleased to be part of this discussion tonight and look forward to the continued cooperation between the County of Marin and National Park Service. I'd like to take a minute here to introduce Eric Steger now, who is the Assistant Director of Public Works, and I believe him and Darren Brown will follow up on the MOU update. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. As the Supervisor Rodoni just said, I'm Eric Steger. I'm an Assistant Director with the Department of Public Works, County of Marin, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. Just seeing the idea of a reservation system start as a small seed and grow to fruition is really exciting. And also want to thank you for coming out tonight. I understand how important any activity that happens in the Redwood Creek watershed is, and so thank you again for coming out tonight. We're going to start with an MOU update. It's going to be sort of a tag team presentation leading to the reservation discussion, but it's an indication how collaborative the effort has been between the County of Marin and the National Park Service, as well as other stakeholders, Marin Transit for one, state parks. Darren, before I get started, you want to say a few words? Or?
No, other than just introduce myself. Like Eric said, I'm Darren Brown. I'm the Parks Transportation Planner, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a very exciting night and milestone for the park. Thank you.
So just getting started here, I thought I'd begin with kind of the overarching goals in the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, which include to protect, preserve, and enhance the health of Redwood Creek, to reduce traffic congestion at Muir Woods, on Muir Woods Road, and now Frank Valley Road, as well as the roads leading to Muir Woods, to improve traffic and pedestrian safety and reduce the environmental impacts that may arise from parking along Frank Valley and Muir Woods Road, and to increase local transit and better manage buses, both commercial buses and the public transit. And these are just the overarching goals, but the MOU gets into a lot more details, particularly in the areas of parking and parking reductions along the road, the implementation of the reservation system, which we'll hear a lot more about tonight, and law enforcement, basically parking control. And these are important because they affect one another, that we knew that there'd be challenges as we started reducing the parking out there even before the reservation system began with parking, and that people would still try to park there, or they may end up parking in other locations, and that's why the law enforcement component was really important also in the MOU. Next slide. So a real brief history. There's been a lot of work associated with trying to relieve congestion and improve safety along the roads leading to Muir Woods over many years. The Muir Woods Shuttle is one of the best examples. It's 10, 12 years old now. But there was a renewed effort that began in 2014 through Congressman Huffman and creating a large ad hoc committee to look for consensus and solutions out there. And that, through that effort, that led to principles of agreement. And from that was kind of the way we got into the actual drafting of the MOU. It was a two-part agreement between the Park Service and the county, and there were two public meetings before the Board of Supervisors in June of 2015 before it was adopted, and then that kind of led the way for the Park Service to do an environmental review that lasted till the end of the fall or so. And at the same time, the county began adopting some additional parking restrictions, raised the fine to the highest allowed, which is $99 per citation. And towards the late fall, our engineering group actually began work on some plans and specs, fairly modest, to install the bollards that I'm sure everybody is familiar with out there, and cable system. And so we had those plans and specs ready to go and provided them to the Park Service, and they actually constructed, did those improvements. And that was one of the first tangible, things you could see from implementation of the MOU. Just kind of going fast forward, the concessionaire prospectus was released in December. I think May was when the proposals were due, and then the concessionaire was selected this September. I think they're here tonight, and wow, we're going to be starting the reservation system here very shortly. I think the next one's yours.
Oh, I'm glad I was worried about that first slide. Everything was number one, so I'm glad this one was not. Again, we're really thrilled to be here. When the MOU was finalized back in 2015, our management told those of us who were working on it, and frankly the whole park, meeting our responsibilities in the MOU, hitting the milestones within the commitments that we had made to the county and to the community through that process, we were going to make those milestones, and we had to hit them. So we took that very seriously, and we're thrilled that we are where we are. Just real quickly, Eric touched on some of it. The first major MOU action was to get the interim improvements on Frank Valley Road and Muir Woods Road, reducing that 250 to 300 parking spaces along the road where people were parking all the way down to Santos Meadow, to get that down to what the MOU said we should be down to, which was 80 downstream of the bridge on 110 total. We did that. We finished that project up in January of 2016. We were at that time also in tandem, paralleling it, developing all of the background material and everything we needed to do to get the reservation system developed and out on the street to be bid on. Sally my colleague will talk to you more about what the reservation system, some of the details of that, but that was the second was obviously for us to implement a reservation system. And continue to the very successful partnership with Marin Transit. Like Supervisor Sears said, it's been an extremely successful service partnership, and we're really excited to still be partnering with them and to improve it with the implementation of the system. And we're working out the very finest grain details. We're there. We just need to get a couple of the last details, and we're ready to go. Provide parking management and enforcement along the road. Once we get down to managing the 232 spaces within the monument, we need to make sure that the rest of the road is managed and enforced, and the laws are and no parking zones are enforced. And then reduce the roadside parking like I discussed. We're down to 110 right now, and we're still on track per the MOU to eliminate that to completely eliminate it by 2022, which is actually beyond our commitments in the MOU. With that, I will turn it back over to Eric.
So before we get to the actual reservation system, we wanted to take this opportunity to talk about some of the other projects that are underway in the watershed. The county's main projects are the road improvements and the bridge replacement. It's a concrete bridge across Redwood Creek. So the road improvement project, otherwise sometimes known as the FLAP project, because it's the Federal Land Access Program, in case you hear that, it's where we got some of our grant funds. It's a $5.9 million project to basically resurface 2.5 miles of road from Shoreline Highway, Highway 1, up to the monument entrance. Repair about a half dozen slide or embankment repairs, as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with along the road there, as well as replace or repair 3 dozen or so culverts, which we hope will also reduce the sediment loading into the creek. Under a separate grant, we are also going to be looking at replacing the concrete bridge at Redwood Creek there, $2.2 million project, and this would be a new bridge immediately downstream of the existing bridge. It's all coordinated with the environmental review. The FHWA, or Federal Highway Administration, is managing the project, and we're participating with them in managing the environmental review as well, which we had scoping meetings about a year ago, and we got public comments and input. And then that led to a project alternatives meeting last April. And there was about a 2-month period to receive additional comments. I think that closed in early June. And the consultants now are working on the environmental documents. We were hoping to have them done, I think, about the end of this year. As it turns out, there's some additional environmental analysis, additional work that's going to need to be undertaken, and that's going to extend till the spring before the document will be released. And again, another public meeting and opportunity to comment on that document as well. Something I don't have up here, but I wanted to alert people about is, I think over time we've had complaints about the buses going over the double yellow lane, going over the center line. And I think about 3 years ago, our traffic division went to the board with a recommendation to have a bus length restriction on the road from Panoramic all the way to the shoreline. And a 36-foot restriction was adopted. And the plan was that we would monitor that and see how it went. And we got additional concerns from the public, particularly for the uphill section. And with the help of Marin Transit, running some 32 and 30-foot buses with some video cameras, we saw that there probably needs to be some additional restrictions on that section of road from Panoramic down to the monument entrance. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to be having a first reading of the proposed ordinance to reduce it to 30 feet. And then there'll be a merit hearing and, again, opportunity for the public to comment in early January, I believe, January 9th. And then another meeting after that for the resolution itself. So I just want to alert people that this is coming as well. I think...
Just very quickly, Carrie already went through this, so I won't go into detail, but on our side, because the county was sharing the FLAP project, these are the major projects that are going to be going on over the next few years as well. We're replacing all of the water and wastewater systems in the monument, replacing all of the parking lots to upgrade the stormwater, upgrade the design, improve the safety and user experience of those parking lots and trails, and enhancing the salmon habitat and the bridges, the pedestrian bridges within the monument. So with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Sally Golub, who will be going over the reservation system, some of the details.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Darren. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. Very excited to be sharing more details about the reservation system that everyone's been waiting to hear about. So I'd first like to cover the reservation system goals, which I know has been already discussed tonight, but I'd really like to reiterate the purpose of this reservation system, which is to improve the visitor experience, to manage the peak visitation, and to reduce impacts on natural resources, to reduce safety hazards, and reduce the impacts on the local community. The reservation system has two parallel systems. So there's this broader reservation system, but within it there is the system that will manage personal vehicles and the shuttle. And then there's a separate system that will manage commercial vehicles that are coming through, such as tour buses. And I'll be explaining both of those. So first, I'd like to discuss the parking and shuttle reservation system, which is for the personal vehicles and for those riding the Muir Woods shuttle. This reservation system really has three key components. The first is a very robust communications and outreach plan. We're really focused on trying to make sure that the local, national, and international communities are aware of this reservation system so that they know to use it and so that they know to plan in advance for the visit to Muir Woods. The second component is that visitors make their reservations online or on the phone in advance. And the third is that there will be on-site parking management year-round, 365 days per year, to help manage the traffic flow and keep people off the roads. So the personal vehicle and shuttle reservation system is being operated under a concession contract, which was awarded through a competitive bid process. The ACE Parking Management will be the operator of this system. Tonight we have three of our ACE representatives with us. Steve Burton, Brian Jalowick, and Kenny Go. If you all want to stand up and wave your hands. Thank you. So we've been working very closely with ACE to get this up and running in time for all of the key dates that are coming very soon. ACE Parking Management is a San Diego-based company. They have been operating for over 60 years, and they work in with both public and private sector entities, running parking management and shuttles for airports, arenas, hotels, and a lot more. So we're excited to have them on board. So some key dates that are coming up really soon. On December 15th, on-site parking management will begin, operated by ACE at Muir Woods. That'll be the beginning of the 365 days per year. Then on January 1st, the website will go live and reservations will begin to be accepted within the website and call center systems. And then on January 16th, reservations will be required to visit Muir Woods in your personal vehicle and through the shuttle. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for. So I'd like to go into the details now and think about this from the perspective of I'm a visitor and I'd like to go to Muir Woods and what happens from the moment that I make that decision that I'd like to visit. So the first component is reservation availability. So reservations will be made, you can make them up to 90 days in advance. And so I can decide well in advance that I'd like to make my visit to Muir Woods and go online or call the call center to make that reservation. But reservations can also be made up to the day of if there's availability. So if it's 8 a.m. and you think I'd like to go to Muir Woods this afternoon, you can check online and see if there's availability. And if there is, that is possible. Similarly, while the majority of reservations will become available 90 days in advance, a limited number of those reservations will be held back and released 5 days in advance so that those who are thinking more last minute, particularly those in the local community who aren't making their plans to Muir Woods so far in advance, that's sort of an opportunity to log online on a Tuesday evening to make their plan for Saturday. So I've decided I'd like to make my visit to Muir Woods. I then access the website or the call center, and then I will reserve an arrival window. So we are not limiting any visitor's length of stay to Muir Woods. What is being limited is that arrival window. So when I go online or I call the call center, I'll book a, say, 8:30 to 9 a.m. arrival window, and that's the time during which I arrive. And once I've parked my car and arrived, I can stay all day if I want, I can stay 2 hours, but what's being reserved is that arrival window. And that's what's really gonna help us manage peak visitation as well, because we can, instead of everyone arriving in that 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. time frame, visitors will be encouraged to arrive earlier in the morning, but also later in the afternoon as well. The reservations are $3 for the shuttle, which is actually reduced from $5, and that is adults only. Children ages 15 and younger will have to make the reservation for the shuttle, but it is a free reservation. And then parking reservations are $8 per personal vehicle. There, as I've said, there's no length of stay limits. And then two other key components of this reservation system are the expanded Marin shuttle, which has already been discussed, and then also the fact that this is a constant learning and adaptation process. So ACE Parking has some really advanced technology to help collect data on when people are arriving, when people are leaving, to ensure that this is as smooth a process as possible, to ensure that there aren't any cars waiting on the road anymore, to ensure that there's always space available. So we'll be using that to constantly learn, constantly make adjustments to the system so that it can be as good as possible. So that is sort of a summary of the personal vehicle and shuttle reservation. The other component is the commercial vehicle reservations, and this is for the vans or the commercial tour buses that are bringing visitors on a visit throughout Marin or throughout Northern California, and they stop at Muir Woods along the way. This system will be operated through Golden Gate National Recreation Area, and the reservations will be made on recreation.gov, which is a site that the National Park Service and the Forest Service uses frequently for many campgrounds and other reservations throughout our federal lands. I'm sure many of you have used recreation.gov in the past. And all access to the commercial vehicle parking will require a commercial use authorization, which is a common tool used by the parks if one is bringing visitors to a park and through a commercial operation. These reservations will be required starting in May 2018, so there's a bit of a lag from when the personal vehicle and shuttle reservations will begin and this system. And it's very important to note that school and community groups will be outside of this. So if we have a school bus of children coming to the Muir Woods, this will not be a part of that. That will be coordinated through our team so that is not limited in any way. And finally, the communications and outreach plan. So this is something that the park has been working on for months, and ACE has really been helping us out as well in getting the word out. And we encourage you all to help us get the word out as well about this new system. But some of the things that we're doing to help get local, national, and international visitors aware of the system, we're using print media, there will be ads online, through the radio, through print magazines. We're of course using social media, reaching out to tour and travel companies and agencies and associations. And on the ground, you'll see new signage that indicates throughout the roads along the way that reservations are required at Muir Woods, so that people should be well aware of that requirement before they arrive. So this all leads to a future vision that we have in which visitors to Muir Woods will be thinking about and planning their visit to Muir Woods in advance. A vision where traffic and congestion are reduced, where visitors are entering the woods safely and no longer walking or parking along the side of the road, and where the impacts on the natural resources and the local community are reduced, and most importantly, so that the visitor truly has a wonderful experience while they visit Muir Woods.
Sally, thank you very much. As you can tell, we're actually, it's taken quite a team and a lot of hours and hard work to try to figure this one out. And we feel like we've really given it our best shot. We're excited to have Ace on board. Thank you for joining the team. The more the merrier here for making it happen. And as I mentioned, just as a reminder, like this isn't the end. This is only the beginning in many respects because there's a lot more work still to be done. As was mentioned by Sally, we really will be monitoring very closely all of the rollout of this reservation system and assessing and tweaking and monitoring, continuing to monitor an adaptive management strategy really to the whole transportation system. But in tandem with that activity going on, meanwhile, the other flows are those in the river corridor and the watershed corridor, meaning that we're going to be having the riprap removal project and the salmon restoration project and the bridge removal and rebuild project going on in the next few years. The other waters are going to be our water line for fire flows and water service being upgraded in the watershed area and the Muir Woods area, along with the wastewater and the lift station replacement to really consolidate and become much more efficient in the way we're managing our waste out there. And then we also will be redoing the whole parking system out there with the parking lot improvements. Pedestrian safety is a high priority to allow visitors to arrive safely and then be able to have a hopefully delightful and inspiring pathway visit to get into the woods and enjoy the rest of the woods. So there's going to be a lot of activities going on out there. I have to say you got to bear with us for a few years because it probably will be a little bumpy along the way as all of these activities are going on, but we've got a beautiful vision that's really unfolding, I think, for Muir Woods. So that's just a reminder that in a way we're just getting at the beginning of some really exciting things to happen for the renaissance of Muir Woods, as our colleague Mia Monroe has often called it. So at this point in time, I'd like to ask my colleagues to join me up front, and we'll take questions and answers for up to 30 minutes, and then we'll break up and have smaller group discussions as needed or warranted. We're here till 8, so. And I will ask you to state the question. I will repeat it so that we can, everyone can hear it, if that's all right. Yes, sir. You need the mic. Oh.
This concerns. This would be concerning the $8 parking fee. Is that? I take it that is it an $8 parking fee, and then in addition a per capita fee to get into the park, or is it just $8 to park and then you have admission into the park for free? And the other question that I have is, generally, if you're not going to be limiting the amount of time for these people or the number of people per vehicle, how is this going to feed back? First, on the limiting of the unlimited amount of time, are you setting aside some slack somewhere in the system which will be unused parking that could be used as an emergency should people stay longer than you anticipate? And the other issue is, what if someone arrives in a Suburban and they've got 9 people in the vehicle? That's another thing. And I would also like to know if you could tell us how much money ACEs get. Are they receiving a compensation that is based on a per capita amount of usage of the parking spaces?
A lot of questions you got there. Good questions, a lot of questions. So I'm going to ask Sally if you want to address the first 2 questions, which are about the fee, and
Sorry, I'm trying to remember the different questions. Oh, you have them. Thank you so much.
So an $8 parking fee, and is there also a park entrance fee?
Yes, so the $8 parking fee, which is per vehicle, is in addition to the $10 entrance fee to Muir Woods, which there are also many different there's parking pass. There's a park pass, so there are interagency passes, senior passes, and a variety, the Muir Woods pass as well. So the $8 parking fee is in addition to your entrance to Muir Woods. We do encourage locals who use Muir Woods frequently to think about the other pass options that are available. And also to carpool, so that if there are 4 people in the vehicle, that's $2 per person instead of $8 per person.
And then, well, this was a big one, no limit of people in vehicles on the number of people.
Correct. So there's no limit on the number of individuals in a vehicle except for what would be required by law with seatbelts. So yes, if 9 individuals want to ride in a Suburban that seats 9, that is absolutely acceptable. And a lot of analysis was done prior to developing this reservation system, where we looked at average number of individuals in a vehicle, average length of stay at Muir Woods as well, and all of that data fed into decisions about the reservation system. So there will be Slack built in, so that, yes, we chose the decision not to cap how long visitors get to stay in the woods, but we also know the average length of stay. We also know that some visitors only come for an hour, and so all of that is being built into the system and managed through an inventory management system.
And lastly was the agreement with ACE, the contract.
What are they receiving per capita?
Yes, so ACE's revenue is through the parking reservations and the shuttle reservations. There is not a per capita based on the number of individuals in a vehicle.
So you're saying that the Muir Woods Shuttle is going to be a reserve, people have to reserve the reservation at the park, and then they'll have the access onto the shuttle? What about people who are just getting on the shuttle now, sort of just down the road, park, get on the shuttle? What's happening with those folks?
There's one reservation system that will be used for reserving private vehicles and your space on the shuttle, so that you know in advance that you have a space on the shuttle. Thank you.
Did you want to add to that? Darren, do you want to add to that? Okay. All right, let's get this gentleman back here, and then I'll work my way back there.
I don't expect a long answer, just if you can tell me who to talk to. Taxis, Uber, and Lyft will fall under which? Private vehicle or the?
I will have Mr. Brown answer that question. The question was about Uber, taxis, and Lyft.
Ubers, taxis, and Lyfts. The reservation system does put into place a system where you're required to have a reservation to enter Muir Woods. So unless you have a reservation on one of the either a private vehicle, the shuttle, or one of the commercial tours, you won't be allowed in. The vehicle won't be allowed into Muir Woods.
So no taxis, no Lyft, no Uber will be allowed inside the park?
Unless they have a reservation. That's correct.
Okay, the customer has a reservation.
That's a good question. Yes, either. Yeah, that's a good question.
Taxi, where do we drop them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we will develop a FAQ for you and get to you. It's a really good question whether or not the yeah. An excellent question, and these are the types of fine-grained details that we're still working on. Thank you for the question.
Great, thank you. And the gentleman who's sitting next to you. That would be you, yes. Yes.
I'm on the board of the Muir Woods Community Park Association. I've got a question about actually the parking on Frank Valley Road.
Okay.
It's my understanding it was going to be 110 spaces, but I swear I go down there and I don't see any difference at all. It looks like there's people, I know they put some barriers in there, but I haven't seen any enforcement at all down there. And it seems like the situation's not changed at all as far as the number of cars down there, people walking on the road, all that sort of thing. So I'm not sure, is it being enforced, is it spotty, is it?
All right. So this is a question with regards to the parking along Frank Valley Road and enforcement along there and the reduction in the parking. I'm going to ask Darren if you would start it off, and maybe Dave if you would add on to that.
It's been very challenging on Frank Valley Road. We knew going into this period where after we had entered into the MOU and we reduced parking on the road, But before we actually put in something to control and manage the demand and flow down there, we really knew, we kind of went in with our eyes wide open that this was going to be a tough transition for the next 2 years. That's why we're so excited that this is going into place and we're going to be able to manage that. So I think that's the question.
Yeah, and you're going to have to forgive me a little bit. I am the new guy on the block, and so I can play that card for a little while longer, okay? But I'm going to give you my card after this and get you a much better and more informed answer. But the gist of it is we work very closely with the Marin County Sheriff's Office on parking issues on numerous areas, but particularly in the areas that you're curious about, and I'll have a much better answer for you. So. So give me the opportunity, please, to get you a better answer. So thanks.
Thank you. The woman in the back, and then this gentleman, and then Nona. Okay, so the question is, how are we going to ameliorate the traffic, additional impacts on roads like Marin Road and from the commercial use vehicles and the traffic flows? Eric, all right, stand up.
I do know something about this, that at the same time, about 3 years ago, when the county adopted an ordinance to reduce put bus limit restrictions on the Muir Woods Road at the time, we also adopted an ordinance that limited buses, I think other large vehicles, in some of the neighborhood streets down in Tam Valley. I know we've had discussions about Muir Beach as well. Seascape was an issue. So you can see me afterwards. We have a list. I don't know all the streets. It's fairly simple to add streets to that existing list through a resolution by the board. So see me afterwards and we can talk about it some more.
Marin is already on the list.
Marin is on the list. All righty. So if there are other suggestions, see Eric on this. This gentleman, and then Nona over here. All right.
Hi. It's a question regarding commercial. Well, three questions regarding commercial use.
Okay.
One, is there definitely going to be a further restriction on vehicle length? Is that a done deal, or is that going through the process? Secondly, do you have any information on the reservation system for commercial use? How's it going to work? Is it going to be the same principle as the cars? Will you be able to reserve a space for a commercial vehicle, but then that vehicle can stay as long as it wants? Bearing in mind there's a lot fewer spaces available for commercial vehicles. And then thirdly, if a commercial operator is unable to reserve a space because all the spaces are occupied, is there going to be a drop-off and pick-up area that commercial operator could use? Bearing in mind they could have passengers on board who've got reservations, even though there may not be a space. So will there be a drop-off and pick-up area?
All right. So that first question, I think, Eric, you will address, and then the last two I'll have Sally address.
So the quick answer is no, it's not a done deal. It's going to be coming before the Board of Supervisors, but it was initiated through concerns by residents and users of the road for safety and buses crossing over the double yellow line. So it's not a done deal, but it's a proposal that we'll be bringing before the board.
So in regards to commercial vehicles, commercial buses, and the commercial vans bringing visitors to Muir Woods, those will have a time limit on them. Those buses, the tour buses generally have a schedule where they're perhaps visiting multiple locations, so they will have a time limit. There are also fewer number of spaces. And then the second question was on, will a commercial vehicle be able to enter the lot without a reservation? And the answer is no, they will not. And so if they do not have a reservation in advance, then they should not come to Muir Woods. It will be similar where reservations are released 90 days in advance, and some reservations will be released at a shorter term as well. And so our commercial operators will have to go through a similar system with recreation.gov to make those reservations in advance and not arrive without a reservation.
So will we know drop-off pickup area as it would be for?
Correct.
So if there's again, a group or a party, people with disabilities, for example, who are using a specific company or bus because it's got the ADA access, they want to go to Muir Woods, they book a ticket, they make a reservation. It's the same principle as a taxi. How are you going to manage that in terms of a tour company cannot deny somebody going? So in a way, you're almost discriminating against those people, saying you can't come because you may have a reservation, but your mode of transportation does not have a reservation.
So individuals riding on commercial tour buses will not make a reservation. The onus will be on the commercial tour company to make the reservation. If I've booked a trip on whatever tour company's bus trip that goes to a few different sites, I'm booking that tour, and then the commercial bus tour company will be making the reservation. And as I said, school groups and certain community groups will not be subject to that reservation system because access is very important to us.
This just occurred to me, and just correct me if I'm wrong. Are you? Is there confusion about whether or not the commercial tour reservation is for a parking spot or for each individual on the bus?
I understand it's for you make a reservation for a parking spot.
Okay.
Which is fine, it's just a question. The original RFP that was released online indicated that there would be allocation of drop-off and pickup areas for commercial vehicles without having to have a reservation, and that was in the RFP that was released.
Okay. Nona, you've patiently. Simple math question, okay. No, $3 on the shuttle. Yeah, yeah, great. All right, this gentleman here, and then we'll keep working around on these.
My question is, you have made this very seemingly foolproof in terms of access so that even a Uber or a Lyft driver or a taxi has to have a reservation. But since the roads are not going to be closed, I'm concerned about the impact to neighborhoods of having people just saying, oh, well, okay, we're just going to go up there anyway. And what contingency plans do you have for the vehicles that will just might be traveling through on the road, on Muir Woods Road, going to Muir Woods, being denied the opportunity to park there, understandably, and then they're going to cruise around and see where else they can park and find some way to visit. And so, Four Corners area, for example, I can see cars just, hey, well, we'll go as far as we can without when we don't see no parking signs, then we're gonna park our car there, and then we're gonna call Uber or Lyft. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but, so what plans do you have for dealing with that?
Darren, would you like to address this?
Yeah, so the question is, what if people go to serious lengths to try to get around the reservation system? This is new for us, and we are very hopeful and frankly confident that there will be a shift in behavior if once we put out all the marketing materials, we really promote that you do need to get into Muir Woods with a reservation. We do think there's going to be a shift. We think that people will make sure they do. Is there going to be exceptions to that? Absolutely, and we will be tracking that and making sure that if there is problems, we'll work to address them.
All right, let me get a question over here in the far back. This woman back here, the back. Yes, that would be you. Yes, you. Yes, please. The question is if there is a strategy for the replacement of the bridge on the other side of the Pelican Inn. And Eric, do you want to address that one?
That was part of the bridge replacement out there was part of a large environmental project for the restoration of the lagoon out there. As it turns out, as we got into the details, the cost of the bridge would have been much higher and longer than the existing bridge. It got to be very expensive, and we haven't been able to find any funding to help support the reconstruction of that bridge. So there's nothing really new to report at this point in time, as far as I know.
Thank you very much. And let me get this gentleman. We'll come back for seconds in a little bit, but let me get first round here.
I have a question about the Franks Valley Road repair and repaving. Significant repair was required, protecting the creek at the same time, and also the bridge. While that is happening, I'm just wondering how long it's going to take to do that. Because it will put tremendous impact on the road that goes from Four Corners down to Muir Woods.
Okay, so this is a question with regards to the Frank Valley Road, to the road repairs and the bridge replacement and length of closure and construction activities and associated impacts.
So that's certainly recognized at some of the other public meetings we've had for this project. This has been brought up, as well as the question about how things will be coordinated with the Park Service with all their activities as well. And so we are coordinating all the work with the Park Service through regular meetings. Right now, the road repair project and the bridge repair project is in, I could say, the middle of the environmental review document. Some of these issues are going to be addressed, I think, when we get that final document and the types of mitigation measures, which will lead to how long the actual work will occur. For example, if there's restrictions on when you can work because of endangered species, then that may draw out the project over a couple of years and we'll have to phase it. Nonetheless, any major road construction project will have some inconveniences and impacts to the people using the road out there. I mean, you can imagine repaving 2.5 miles of Franks Valley Road out there.
Great, thank you. Let me get this gentleman over here. I've got one. All right, we'll keep going here, but we've got about 7 more minutes of questions, then we'll break up into small groups. Yes, sir. That would be you with the vest. Yes.
Okay, quick question. How's this intercept actually going to work where you check for the reservation? Because right now you're going to multiple parking lots and then people can also park on the side of the road. So you're going to have a spot where people where you're intercepting right on the road?
All right, so the question is, how is the intercept going to work when you're coming in to get a parking spot? Sally.
That's a great question. So Ace Parking is going to have parking ambassadors at each parking lot. So there will always be a parking ambassador stationed at the main lot and then one at each other lot as well. So cars will not be able to enter any lot that they please, and those parking ambassadors will be guiding visitors along through their cars to where there is space and redirecting cars where there isn't space. And then how that actual acceptance of the reservation will work is through essentially like a mobile device, like a mobile phone that will scan a code.
Great, thank you. This woman in the green shirt, and then we'll move over to this side. Yes.
Okay, I went and showed up on 2 free days last year, and because I was actually doing research for various other projects. There were cars parked all the way down the road.
Darren, would you like to provide some information?
Yeah, I think I would actually ask Mia or Emily if they would like to supplement my answer, but I will say that I'm not exactly sure what days you're referring to, but our typical, and I could even have Robert Lieber come up as well. My understanding is that we always count every person who goes through the entrance. We have very accurate counts. Mia, would you like to, or Emily? No? So we do have counts every single day that we can provide.
Emily and I can team this. What Mickey's talking about is the fee-free day, so each individual person is not counted through paying a fee, but there are our conservancy people working in the visitor center to continue to greet each visitor and pass out brochures, and they have several different metrics for being so experienced with knowing how many people are in the woods, so they come up with a guesstimate for how many people there are that day, and that's been verified through counters. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't.
And Mickey, we also are very, very concerned too about the impacts to the forest. Protecting the forest is the core of our mission, and we have paths through the woods. We have rangers patrolling the woods. We do a lot of education to help people understand the importance. And we hope that when people come to the woods that they see the beauty, the value, the diversity of the forest, and they learn how they too can be part of protecting the park. We're real proud. Right now, I'd like to recognize that the entire Muir Woods staff is here tonight. If you don't mind standing up, these are people who care about the future and are busy taking care of your park. Please, Muir Woods Rangers, stand up. Let's acknowledge this crew that's here tonight taking care of your park.
All right, we're going to take 2 more questions because we're hitting the 7:30 mark right now. And this woman has had her hand up for a while, and we'll take 1 more, and then we'll stick around for another half hour to continue the conversations.
I don't know whether I missed it or not. What's the total number of parking spots that are going to be available for private cars? And then the second was, are people not going to be allowed to drive through, like from Muir Woods, go around and go out to Muir Beach? Is it going to be closed?
No. So, right. So 2 questions. One is the road going to be closed so you can't drive through? And the other is the total number of parking spaces that will be available. And Darren?
The total number of parking spaces is 232. That is as many as we have within the monument itself, and that is what in our environmental document we've committed to managing to, and so we won't be having more than that. I'm sorry, what was the other question? Oh yeah, the road being closed. No, the road will not be closed. It is a through road, and it will be maintained, and people can access the road.
It's just you can't get your car into any of the, like the entrance parts and drop.
That's correct. That's correct.
All right, this last woman standing up, waving her hand, and this will be the final question, and then we'll break up.
There are several people who got their hands up, and I think
Yep.
if you read the MOU carefully, it says very clearly and spelled out in the MOU very explicitly that there should be ample time for questions and contributions from the community. I think it's on page 3 of the MOU. My questions, I have 3 questions, have to do with safety and with the accuracy of information as presented to the community. First, I'd like to say
Yeah, we actually have questions and answers about this project. I don't know if some of those resulted from that community meeting, but I assume we have. Yes, we will be happy to do that. We have a venue for it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Forthcoming.
Thank you for those suggestions.
Yes,
We will follow
yes.
up on this.
Yeah, and thank you. And I will speak to the map question, is that I know it is in production right now, and I think early January is when we should have that information posted on our website more readily available. As you can imagine, the construction dates are going to be moving targets. We have windows in which we anticipate the work happening on a lot of these, but it gets tangled up with some of our contracting procedures and also working closely with the county for certainly the FLAP project as well. But as much information as we have available and feel confident and confirmed on, we will post that and have more detailed maps than certainly you're seeing here this evening. So thank you for that recommendation, and we are following up on that. At this point in time, we are still going to be here for another 25 minutes. We will want to have conversations, answer your questions, have one-on-ones, and invite you to please go to the workstations where we have more detailed maps and information posted on some of the other projects and activities. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening. Laura, I don't know if you want to say any final remarks, but
no, I just really value your concerns and questions. You represent many of the community members who couldn't be here tonight and their questions as well, so I appreciate that. And we will follow up on the answers that we weren't able to provide tonight.
So to send any further questions, send it into the GOGA planning. We have a Muir with, I'm looking at Aaron, our public affairs coordination cards. Thank you. Great. And again, thank you all for coming out, and we'll be here for another half hour, so thank you very much.